Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the Daily AI Show. Today is Wednesday, and that means it's news day. And I am joined by Andy and Beth, and I'm Jyunmi. And so today we're going to talk about all the latest and greatest news from around the world. And hopefully, we will have some fun, interesting stories. I always like to bring the AI in science and the AI in good or AI for good kind of stories, and we will see what we get. But first of all, actually, I'm not joined by Andy and Beth. I'm joined by Andy and me again. Sorry, I had to point that out, Beth. All right. So, yes, we are weaving today. And it looks like Jen joined us. Thank you so much, Jen. And thank you, everybody who's watching and viewing us today. All right. So, So I'm gonna open up with a AI and science story, and then I'll kick it off to the rest of you folks. Um, Now this touches upon our environment, our natural environment, the wildlife research and things like that. But apparently, um, the Leibniz Institute for Zoo and Wildlife Research has developed a couple of different AI models and working with vultures and tagged vultures in the wild, they they're able to uh, use them as death detectors. So a large part of the wildlife and an ecosystem is how animals are hunted and carcasses are removed, and those are all elements to how a healthy environment cycles. And so with an AI, this research group was able to track the movements of these vultures and accurately detect where they're going to find these various carcasses or their meals and things like that. This They say that this will help with monitoring any ecological disasters, or if there's disease spread in the ecosystem, or if there's poaching or illegal hunting, those kinds of things. So I thought that was interesting, emerging of the high tech and nature to accomplish an overall good. All right, now that I've got out of my system, what do you folks got?
Okay, I'll go. I'm very intrigued by an announcement just yesterday about a company in Norway that's aiming an AI, not a large language model, but a sophisticated AI, natural language processing system, at the disinformation in media problem. We've talked about this on the show. Wouldn't it be great if we could just have real time fact checking and think back to like when I was growing up, there was this idea that on a television network, if you gave time to one point of view, you had to provide equal time to the opposing point of view so that you got some balanced representation. But now you've got really extreme bias representing themselves as news or objective journalism. And so it's really important to add an AI layer to fight disinformation. This is in the interest of just making sure that there's trust and credibility in information sources. At the opposite side of that is Elon Musk and all of those who want to fight the ability of any media organization to suppress anything, no matter how non-factual it is, as a tenet of free speech. Well, this Norwegian company called Factiverse has developed an AI tool to combat online disinformation. It's a platform that does real-time fact checking of text, video, and audio content. And when they say real time, they mean this thing is launching off a search and doing evaluation of the credibility of sources and the validity of claims in a real-time stream across 114 languages, and it currently outperforms GPT in identifying and verifying claims. So good news that somebody's working on this issue. Wish it were somebody in the United States, but no, the Europeans will protect us.
Right. Well, that I like that there's somebody taking a point forefront in that. I think it'll be more and more relevant as we go on. Beth, what do you got for us?
All right. So Ilya Sutskever, who as we were when I explained this, I reference Ilya Sutskever as the potion maker, right? So we have the magicians, we have the magician's assistant, we have all those kinds of things. And Ilya Sutskever is the potion maker. He's the one who had the imagination to implement a bunch of um the technologies or the theories that OpenAI was using to reach the results that they had been reaching. And he's come out also in the our AI LLM slowing down and said that we're reaching the end of the scaling laws, which is something that we've talked about a couple times. One of the things that's important about that is that it is actually pushing and putting some emphasis on the big AI labs to try other ways to improve their models, to train their models to reach the returns that everybody's looking at. One of the reasons that this story was so big and continues to be so big this week is because the scaling laws were a prediction, right? Like, it's going to get 10 times better each time we do this. And that is actually what is happening, is that prediction, that like exponential or 10 times improvement is not as automatic or as easy. That doesn't mean that the models aren't improving. But the other thing about what Ilya was talking about is it's pushing the companies to find other ways to improve, right? And one of the things about the scaling laws was if you just shove a whole bunch of resources at these things, they make predictable gains. Well, shoving a whole bunch of resources is not particularly efficient, right? Certainly not efficient in terms of power that powers compute. So that's a really interesting part of this conversation. And like what is being talked about is things like reasoning, right? So the moves that we're seeing companies make in that context are just coming more to the forefront in this. But it was notable that Ilya was the one who had said that, because he was one of the ones who was like, yeah, no, this is definitely what we need to do. So now we're looking at other directions. Yeah. Andy, what else you got?
All right. Meta. Meta, as you know, is a big consumer company, and they are now creating a new product unit to develop AI tools for business. Now, that might make sense because, as a business, you use Facebook, lookalike audience, technology to mount your advertising. But this is taking it a step beyond just advertising on Facebook as a service to businesses. So they hired Clara Shih, who was most recently the CEO of Salesforce AI, and she's going to head up this business unit within Meta and market those to businesses. And most of business-facing AI tools delivered by Meta so far have been on ad creation and optimization, but this is going to use the broad resources of all of the tools available in the Meta universe, including other product lines, not just Facebook. And they're going to try to develop their thesis around, hey, we want to advance customer relationships and provide tools that go beyond just optimizing your ads on Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram. And so that's, I think, a very important new area of investment by that company, and newsworthy.
Awesome.
I do have a couple of quick fire AI tool feature type stories. I'll start off with Google Gemini now has a memory feature similar to ChatGPT's memory, right? And I do this because there's a couple of different versions of how memory is used in the AI space. This is mostly talking about picking up bits and pieces of your conversations and, storing that so that it could be drawn upon as an additional resource as context when you're having your conversation.
For
Now,
customization. Yeah.
right, right, exactly. And so right now, they're rolling it out as part of the Google One AI Premium plan, which is, I think, like a $20 plan or whatnot. So if you're on that, you'll have access to it. They have not rolled it out to anything else yet, but that just came out today. So yeah, give it a shot. I definitely will give it a shot because I use Google AI Studio, and we'll see how useful it is. The other one, quickfire, is OpenAI. I'd like to think that OpenAI listened to my complaints about not having advanced voice mode via the web interface, and now they announced it. So they're going to be including advanced voice mode on their web version of ChatGPT.
There's no coincidence there.
I, you know,
Jyunmi,
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think so. Chat, let me know if you're in agreement. But I digress. But what's interesting about this is they're just showing the ability to unify their experience across their different offerings. Um, when we've talked about the desktop version of ChatGPT before, and it first came out on Mac. It recently came out on Windows and updated for Windows. And I did notice through that Windows version they offer advanced voice as well. So normally a lot of these desktop apps are simply a web app that's been wrapped so that you can run it on your local desktop. Still makes all the same calls and gets regular updates and all those kinds of things. But this is a nice little feature step up from OpenAI. Before I go on to my more big stories, do we have additional things that you guys want to touch upon?
Yeah. So, all right, I forgot about the weave. So here we go. Memory and no, I'm just gonna go with memory. Memory makes me remember trying to take French in high school, and I only learned enough to say curate, which was what is the time, and that's it. That's like the entire universe of my French knowledge, and it's delightful that AI can interpret for you. So French makes me think of Mistral's free ChatGPT rival. So what they did was they released LeChat, or they updated LeChat. LeChat has been something that can happen, but it now has several of the features that ChatGPT have, and it is free. So it's super important. It can generate images within the chat. You can go into something like Canvas and like collaborate, co-edit with Mistral, and that it's like the pressure that's happening from like it just feels like ChatGPT is kind of getting it from all sides, right? There's just more and more pressure coming on them. And yeah, all right. So that's my French connection to Mistral to Le Chat. The
well,
gauntlet is thrown. There we go.
good. Yeah. I spent 3 months living in France when I was very young, not very young. I was in college, and I know that the French people are very warm, and in fact sometimes that you can consider them hot. Well, trop chaud means too hot, and that's what's happening to NVIDIA's upcoming Blackwell GPUs. That is a problem. They're prone to overheating. Now you can imagine they're pressing a huge number of transistors, trillions of transistors, into a single chip, a wafer scale chip, and then they're putting racks of these things together, and the heat that's generated from the power that's coursing through these things is causing them to, not work so well in close proximity to each other. This is probably going to delay NVIDIA's release of the Blackwell series of chips. And they have today is the day that they're announcing their third quarter earnings. And so there's this combination of good news, bad news. They're going to probably blow everybody out of the water with how much they're selling in their current lines of chips, but they have this background problem. I have a couple of other really short ones if you want me to toss those out. These are things that are in the news that you should have heard about, but maybe didn't. One is that Perplexity Pro users now have a shopping capability. You can put your payment information into Perplexity, and then you can ask Perplexity to find and buy something for you. And that's a pretty nice convenience, because I already turn now to Perplexity. I'll do a little browsing in Google, to look at products, or Amazon. Those are two other places that I'll go. But increasingly now I'm going to Perplexity and saying, find me the best X. And it will come back with a really good set of research. They've been focusing on this e-commerce approach to using their research platform. And this is going to be one of the key ways that they monetize. Now you can put your credit card into a Perplexity wallet, in effect, and it'll go all the way through the transaction. So you just ask it to do the shopping job for you, and it's going to show up at your door. I'm going to add this one other thing that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, which is that 11 Labs, and Jyunmi, you may have some additional information about this one, but 11 Labs is a company that has done one of the sort of cutting edge approaches to conversational AI in the form of voice cloning. So 11 Labs has that capability. Well, they've now launched conversational agents using the 11 Labs platform. So you can build right on 11 Labs platform. So you go directly to them, rather than 11 Labs being a tool that's behind the scenes, behind other conversational systems. You can go to 11 Labs and build a conversational agent that'll interact on phone and or on the web. You're on mute.
Yeah. So speaking of that, Karl's just joined us. And speaking of 11 Labs and the AI agents, he actually gave me a demo of it last night when we were working on something else for DAS. So Karl, tell us more about it.
Okay, there it is. Can you hear me? All good?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, so actually I can demo it if you'd like.
That'd be great.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna pop this up. Okay, so in this agent, so this is the 11 Labs so they have the new conversational AI. They have video game character as a test. So I put in a couple of test agents here. I'll actually show you the Play AI has one too. So this one, you can obviously language, first message, system prompt, similar to like any third-party chatbot. You can set the temperature, pick which LM. They did say in the future this costs. So they're paying for this right now, but obviously in the future they'll pass this on. And you can add knowledge base, so you can add URLs, files, text. It's pretty good. And I just simulated a chatbot we had with Brookfield. And then tools. This is very interesting because you can run a webhook. So I haven't even thought of like the possibilities of what that could mean, because you have the get from an API. So I'm trying to think, how would that even connect to like, I know, like, could you run it through Zapier? Could you run it through Make? And how would you collect that data? Then you have secrets, which I have no clue what this is. I'm not sure what this is.
That's just for API
okay.
connection.
Okay. So anyway, so then you have the voice. You can change the voice, but you can use your own voice, because if you've created voices, I've kind of maxed, so I can use my voice. which I'm going to save. I haven't even thought about using that. You can see though, it is using text to speech. So it's not using the real-time API, but it's still not bad. And then you have some sliders for stability and similarity. I haven't even looked at the evaluation criteria and data collection. I don't know what happens if I connect this. So I'm not sure. Allow list, timeout, keywords. I just put like things that, you know, the our chatbot originally had. I'm not a sound design person, but so I'm not quite sure what will happen if I don't know if anybody know what the difference between these two are. 16,000 hertz versus 8,000 hertz, but it's
that's a measure of resolution.
Okay.
Pulse code modulation is what that refers to.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm
and
assuming-
in context, that's sort of like talking on a phone versus it's not even CD quality, but
Okay.
8,000 is like talking on
Okay.
landline phone.
And then you can set the conversation. So for example, I'm going to test the agent. Now, whenever I test this, kind of weird because it then uses my mic and I'm not sure if you can hear it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my MacBook input because that usually helps. Everybody can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
A little different.
Yes.
So I'm going to say, let's call this agent. I hope everyone can hear this.
Hello, what would you like to know about the Everly?
I'd like to buy the Everly. How much does it cost?
Great to hear you're interested in the Everly townhomes. The price range for these homes varies depending on the size and number of bedrooms. Here's a breakdown. 1. One-bedroom units start from the low $200,000. 2. Two-bedroom units start from
hold
the
on
low...
a second. Could you make sure your answers are very succinct?
Certainly. I apologize for the lengthy response. I'll keep it brief from now on.
Okay,
The Everly...
I have a family of 4. We have a dog. What's the best home?
For a family of 4 with a dog, I'd recommend considering the 3-bedroom townhomes at the Everly. These start from the mid $300,000 and offer more space for your family and pet. Would you like to know more about the specific features of these larger?
Okay, so that's
good.
Very
That's
simple.
real good.
Yeah, that was pretty neat, eh? So I'm curious to know what the cost is, because if you embed this on the site, so just the last piece here is the widget. So here's what it looks like, and you can change the color, the logo, and all that kind of stuff. And then you can embed this, and so this is what it'll look like, and you have that conversation. I'm really curious about what the cost would be.
Interesting you brought that up because Justin just put that question of once they start charging what that cost will be. Do you have a general idea or a guess?
I have no clue because so Play HT has another one. And Play AI. It is 11 Labs competitor. So I created another agent, and this is Harold. Now Harold's very different. Harold, whose behavior is
You're still on the the 11 Lab screen.
I gotta reshare this. Stop sharing my screen. I'm gonna share the Play AI version of this. Where is that?
I know what's coming here. This is good.
This is way. I find this way better than. But it's because I created the prompt here. So the prompt for Play AI one, you're a sarcastic real estate agent who's down on their luck. So I'm gonna go save this agent, and I'm going to test this agent. I have 46 minutes left. That's fine. Okay, here we go.
What do you want now?
I want to buy a house for $50,000.
Look, I hate to burst your bubble, but according to what I'm seeing, the cheapest homes in our market are going for well over $400,000. Even the most basic properties are selling for around $600,000. With $50,000, you might be able to buy a nice parking spot in the middle of nowhere. Have you considered maybe looking into a cardboard box instead? Or perhaps we should talk about increasing your budget to something a bit more realistic.
Can I buy a tent? And so what's interesting about this one versus 11 Labs, this times out quite a lot. So I don't think this one is ready for prime time because I've had a whole bunch of conversations with this, but it times out. Like I've sent it to a couple of people, it would time out after a few seconds of that conversation. So
Yeah,
if
the
you want,
timeout's bad, and so is the latency.
yeah,
It doesn't even compare to 11 Labs'
Right.
speed of
yeah.
response.
So this is very interesting to see if people are like I don't know if many people know that this is available through 11 Labs and the ability and the knowledge base, because to me I think you have the traditional chat bots, but now you have the ability to add voice to that, to have that conversation. The only thing that this doesn't show though which would be nice is if like a chat bot you can see what you typed and what the answer was. So it would be nice to see what you have said and what the answer to that. So at the same time, just so
Right.
it's just that added piece. I guess you don't have to, but it'd be nice to, and I'd be curious to see because I haven't seen the ability to. Um, what's nice about some of the third parties, and you can see what people are asking, and then that's a big piece for businesses.
Yeah, no, that was a great demo. Thanks, Karl.
Yeah, thank you, Karl.
And that just came out recently. So you saw it here first, folks. Yeah. So I'm going to try and weave that into my next story. So what that reminded me of was that was a voice form of avatar, and avatars are part of the generative AI boom that we're seeing in the character development. And with character development comes narrative development. And that makes me think of AI in Hollywood. And recently, one of the big names in Hollywood just on a CNBC show talking about AI and what they think about AI and how it's going to be implemented in Hollywood, and that's Ben Affleck. So Ben Affleck has made tons of movies. He's been in the director and producer space lately, and he had a very succinct description of where AI is, or particularly generative AI in filmmaking. And right now, essentially, what he says is um, artists shouldn't really be worried too much about it in taking over, because it he says at best it's a craftsman, not an artist. You can tell it to write in a Victorian style, but you'll never get Shakespeare out of it. And one of the points that he was highlighting was what he calls a matter of taste. And we've talked about that on the show in a different form, calling it curation, and being able to pull out what is important out of the resulting output and things like that. And for the most part, I agree with him. I think that uh, that element is really how to take advantage of the AI capabilities. And the other thing you mentioned was where he sees a lot of AI being involved is on the mundane, tedious side of things. And we talked about this as well. It's always going to be the low hanging fruit. It's going to be process things that Hollywood will implement AI for. Things like contracts and talent deals and organization and all of those producer type day in day out things, project management, distribution, all of those kinds of things. And that's with that, you don't need as much of a the barrier is lowered. And that's one of my favorite things about AI tech is it'll lower the barrier of entry for people, so that you can have high performing artistry by using AI to cut out all of the mundane or tedious tasks. So I do appreciate the things that he said, and it was very succinct. So I think a lot of people were resonating with his statements because apparently it went on viral on all the social media platforms. Um, but to tie in with that, Deloitte just released an article on how AI will be implemented in Hollywood and what are the things that they think are going to be implemented and where they think AI is not going to be adopted. And it basically broke down into two categories as well, which is pretty much aligns with what Ben Affleck was saying. Is uh, in the mundane processes. I guess that's the way I'll frame it, is in those everyday processes. That's where you'll see a lot of the adoption of AI in the Hollywood space, right?
So
Right.
I have a connection to this. I'm sticking with the subject. I'm not weaving off it yet. Um, they're the largest seed round that I've ever seen. So seed means they never raised money before. So there's a company called Moon Valley. It's in
Oh, right,
Hollywood. Okay. $70 million raised from General Catalyst, Khosla Ventures, and Bessemer Venture Partners, very large venture capital firms, very,
right.
very successful venture capital firms. They're building generative video models for professional media advertising and film production. So
Yes.
they must have
A-
something very special to get $70
Well,
million as a seed round.
I'm glad you mentioned it because Moon Valley is also in the news because of their model that they're releasing is it's supposed to be a more ethical video model.
Hmm.
So they essentially the service that they're providing is to connect with production companies, to connect with the studios on that level. So they're not trying to create content. What they're trying to do is create partnerships with the creatives to have an opt-in and indemnity process for their content. So if
Interesting.
you
Well,
want to
it's
release your
still,
content,
it's a development that is going to impinge on the success of individual actors, and it's going to make it harder and harder for actors to get work. The very first thing that an actor needs to do when they get to Hollywood is get an agent. Okay, and now Karl was at watching Ignite where Microsoft announced agents, and so Karl, tell us about how we can get actors Microsoft agents that can help them get a job when all these AI systems that are going into film production are going to knock them out of the market.
I think what is very interesting, because I want to tie it into to a couple things. So before Microsoft, before yesterday's Ignite, and it's over the next 3 days, so you can actually watch the sessions. And if you go online, they're actually free, and you can rewatch some of the sessions. I'm actually going to play a quick little clip in a second, which is really neat what they did. Now, again, demo, slick video. You can't trust this because I'm going to refer back to the Business Insider article, which said that 75% of IT managers who deployed Copilot did not see any kind of business value, and that even a longtime Microsoft employee said they're living in some sort of fantasy land, that they think this is good, but it's only providing 10% of the wow moments. So got to take Microsoft with a bit of grain of salt. But what I wanted to showcase was this thing that I saw yesterday, and I'm quickly just looking for the second for it. They did this demo. They used IVR, so I can't remember what that stands for, but I think
Interactive voice response.
yes. So when you call somebody, call like a major government department or any business, it's like, oh, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for this. So they did a demo. It's a little bit better, but I'm like, okay, that's cool. The coolest thing that I saw though was, I'm just give me a second. I'm trying to find Just trying to find it. Here we go. Okay, so let's share this and let's play this.
You would normally do in Copilot Studio, as you saw in all the videos so far. Okay, great. And you end up with a Copilot, the usual Copilot that can answer questions over that corpus. But now, with the new SDK and voice capabilities, you can wrap that Copilot endpoint into an application. So when the user asks something like, what time is breakfast tomorrow? The Copilot returns, as it always does, the right answer, fine. And it returns the reference to the page the answer was sourced from. It always does that, okay, no problem. But now, the app can use that reference to automatically browse to the relevant page, okay? What's more, using the new voice channel, both the user's question and the response can be speech-enabled. And together, this enables an immersive multimodal experience. So let's bring it all together and see it in action.
What time is breakfast tomorrow?
Breakfast is served from 6:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the main dining area.
Can I get it delivered to my room?
Sure, here is the in-room dining menu.
Are blueberry pancakes gluten-free?
Unfortunately, no. Blueberry pancakes are not gluten-free as it contains all-purpose flour.
Oh, okay. In that case, please order bacon and eggs for me at 7:30 a.m.
All right, I have placed your order.
Oh, and one more thing. Can I get a wake-up call tomorrow morning at 6?
I've set the wake-up call for you at 6 a.m.
Okay, so again, very skeptical because there's lots of slick videos, but that is a very different way to interact online through voice, through change of, because I remember I was talking about this a couple months ago. Wouldn't it be cool if while you're talking, a web page is brought up exactly what you're talking about? And then the only step that's left after that is it's dynamically building the page while you're talking. That would be the only level. So that little piece there, I don't think
That was the first time I've seen automated navigation of a website.
That's and that isn't, hey, I want to go see this page. It's as you're talking, it recognizes what you're talking about and playing it. So I thought that was very cool. And I thought, like, that's coming, or that's here now. I do have to put the brakes on building something like that in Copilot is very, very, it isn't very easy. Like, Copilot itself is one of the most difficult places, especially Copilot Studio. It's very difficult to kind of maneuver and navigate. So, but that's Microsoft. You got to believe a whole bunch of all the AI labs and other places are building something like that. So we have just seen how our future is in terms of interacting with businesses.
Nice. And exciting. And at the beginning of that, they showed an image of a pool. And then the entire conversation had so much reverb on it that it sounded like the whole conversation might have been happening in that pool room. And reverb makes me think of music. And music makes me think of Suno, which came out with V4. And V4 says it's giving you higher quality music. You have more control over personas. So if you create a voice that you're really excited about, you can use that voice for multiple songs, which of course is what many musicians do, right? We want our voices to sound similar across songs. It can help you with lyrics. And it's it's got more complicated song, not complicated, better song structures. So let me see if I can make that happen.
You're going to generate some music right now?
No, I'm gonna play their demos. Are you kidding me? All right, share audio, yes.
Caught in your orbit, spinning round.
Yeah. So yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
All right, one more.
Son las 11:11, el reloj marcó.
That's great.
All right.
I've heard all those songs before, though.
And I've said I didn't know what I was going to go on for the last one. So like points for singing in different languages as well. But one of the things that I think is really cool about that is the quality of the audio sounded really good for any of the things that were being developed. Like the just the quality, the like when Karl was saying, what's the difference between 8 hertz and 16 hertz? This is absolutely CD quality, or I don't even know if there's something higher than that. So yay. All right.
Yeah.
So Suno, who's going to pick up the gauntlet now? What do you got?
Karl, do you have a last story for us before we close out for the day?
I do. I've got, so when 01 preview came out, it's one of the, the pushing the top models. But today, what was just released, and everybody can try this. It's one of my favorite X people I follow whose notifications is always turned on. It is DeepSeek. It is a Chinese large language model that says that they are at the level and in some cases beats 01 preview. So 01 preview, DeepSeek, and some of these benchmarks, DeepSeek. So it's really interesting. I haven't tried it. You can try it. You can just go to DeepSeek, chat.deepseek.com. I think you have a limited preview similar to what you probably get with free Anthropic Claude. Yeah, 50 I don't know how many messages you get. I haven't even clicked on the link yet. So, and then apparently this is going to be full open source. I don't know when. So that preview, you can try it, but I can only imagine if this is open source. I think this is an example of, closed open source. And you know what? Everything that we talked about today, and remember on Wednesday, hey, are we hitting a wall in AI? If you were just focused entirely on large language models and just pre-training, you may be able to come up with some coherent argument. But everything we saw today, Suno 4, Microsoft Copilot, what we're seeing with the Chinese 01, that is not that's something that I don't think AI is stopping. We're getting feature after feature after feature in all different forms. And I don't know, again, it's for me, it's back to the fire hose of every single thing that we're talking about. Because they got Chinese 01, you've got Suno 4, you've got 11 Labs agents, like Copilot, what else is coming?
Speaking of fire hoses, one of the things that our colleague Brian always talks about is, firefighting, and it's better to have robots go into a burning house than to send humans in there. And so Figure 02, a robotics company, has already reached a level in a BMW factory where they're doing 1,000 daily autonomous component placements in critical battery cell installations. And a key thing about this, and about the swarm of developments that are surrounding AI, is that they're using a virtual environment to train the robots It's a perfect digital replica of the actual physical environment of the BMW factory. And they send the robots in there and make them do thousands of years of training in the virtual environment before they go out on the floor with people. These are bipedal humanoid robots that are working side by side with humans. And then on a related note, there's a new system called Lucid Sim, which uses Gen AI models and physics simulators to create highly realistic virtual training environments for robots. And I think we're going to end up doing a whole show on this whole idea of just how fast robots and AI can learn when they're given a simulation in which to practice. And so this development of Lucid Sim, which is the creation of the virtual environment like the one that's being used just on a factory floor, but extends to the whole world, gives robots and AI together an ability that goes way beyond our ability within a lifetime to practice and achieve skills. So there's an explosion coming here. Somebody can thread off an explosion here and
Well,
the show.
Well, I'm going to call it here because we are definitely over time.
Time,
but
yeah.
I want to thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's always great to see you in the comments. If you want to follow up more, we will have an expansion upon the things that we talked about this week in our newsletter, which comes out every Sunday, and you can sign up for that at thedailyAIshow.com. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. It's always an eventful news day. And yes, we will bring you the weave on Wednesday next week. All right. Thanks, everybody. Aloha.